even though it's like the second year of celebrating Juneteenth and stuff like that, I do think that the same way that people celebrate Cinco de Mayo and Oktoberfest, go drink beer, or what's it called, St. Patrick's Day, different things like that. I just wonder why do a lot of people, even schools or people like that, have a problem with celebrating Juneteenth? Because I see a video going viral. These people's like, oh, the bank's closed. Why? Oh, because it's Juneteenth. They know what is Juneteenth.
Tony, from what I understand, I could be wrong and correct me. Juneteenth has been celebrated for many years. It just wasn't a federal holiday until 2 years ago.
No, we always celebrate it. That's one thing. Like, always celebrate it. But I think on a national level, a lot of people never really celebrated stuff like that. Because I never knew Juneteenth was a Pacific Day. I always thought like the whole month of June and stuff like that. But like I know like some people just they don't know what actually Juneteenth was. And the reason why those celebrations different things. Like I think in the South we didn't know it. But I think a lot of Midwest or even on the West Coast different things like that in certain areas. I feel like they're not that caught up on Juneteenth. I know in the South we always celebrate it.
I hear you, Tony. I'll be honest, I think Cinco de Mayo is Mexican Independence Day. So, consider the source. You know what I'm saying? That people be thinking that we're celebrating Mexico and shit. You know what I'm saying? People don't really know what the hell's going on. They just see a celebration. Sig said it yesterday, which I think is hilarious. Sig was like, we be celebrating too much shit. Maybe we are. Because we don't even know we're celebrating nowadays. We just be having parties and shit. But, I'm here for it even.
But I'm going to say this, though. I think, okay, Cinco de Mayo, everything else, I think we know how to celebrate it because every club, every bar does also think that a lot of times people do try to celebrate a black holiday like Juneteenth. I think some people don't know how to celebrate it, meaning as in, okay, if I brought chicken and candy yams, is that racist? If I decide to play hip hop or play blues all day, am I racist and different things like that? I think that happened a lot of times with schools. Like I think schools trying to celebrate Juneteenth and they had fried chicken, yams, and something else, and somebody was like, "Why you decide to serve that on Juneteenth? Like we don't all of us on chicken." Is like, I think that it's gonna take at least 3 to 4 years for people to thank God to it because a lot of people just don't from different.
Tony, let me ask the question to the room, right?
Right.
How many parents in this room on stage are teaching their children what Juneteenth means, the meaning behind it, and teaching the history behind it? How many parents in this room? Anybody?
I do, yes.
Albert? My question to the room was, how many people on stage or in the room are teaching their children, the next generation, the meaning behind Juneteenth and the history behind it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know I am. With my children now, they're teaching my grandchildren, so absolutely.
Anybody else? Roswell?
Absolutely. My kids are grown though. They have a master's degree, so they already ate. And I push blackness in my household when they were growing up.
But let me ask you a question, respectfully. Did they learn the lessons you try to teach them? Because listen, I have 2 grown kids also, and they're always going to be my kids, right? I don't care how old they get, and I try to teach them to this day. But do you think they embrace your teachings?
Yeah, I do, and I'm going to say because my daughter, she went to Xavier in Cincinnati, and when the whole Black Lives Matter movement started with the Trayvon Martins and the young teenagers being killed and by police officers and patriots, as I like to say, she held a rally at the school, which caused a lot of stir. I went because I'm always supportive. And the funny thing was that day there was a basketball game going on. So they held it, near their little stadium on campus. And the hate that was being spewed because of what the message that these kids were purveying and trying to promote solidarity because of what was going on. It was crazy. And she spoke to me about it afterward. And I said, well, you got your first taste of it, of the vitriol that there's going to be spewed to you because of how you look and what you do. Because most of her friends, she had black friends, but, in where she grew up, a lot of friends were white. So she never experienced, like, racism in your face. And she got it that day. And, I was glad and sad. It was kind of a bittersweet moment because it's something you need to go through because everybody's not your friend. And even people that look like you are not, all kinfolk ain't kinfolk. So, I live for the moments for my children to have those experiences because, sometimes they need to see that the fire's out for themselves. As much as we want to as parents to block everything and be there, you got to go through it to know what it's about. So, yeah.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I think the biggest mistake parents are making nowadays is they overprotect their children.
Right.
They don't listen. They got to go out there and see it for themselves. We can tell them whatever it is, racism, anti-Semitism, whatever it may be.
You sound like a Gen Xer. You Gen Xer?
I am a Gen Xer.
Oh, so you already know. And we basically raised ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
100%, a million percent, bro.
You feel me? We riding bikes with no helmets, jumping off roofs, just crazy.
Yeah, but we also got the belt to our asses, kids.
Yes. Definitely that. And the century cords and
go pick a switch.
Racetracks on the Hot Wheel racetrack. Yeah, I got it all.
Hey, but JB, one thing I did find out though, and I'm not speaking for everybody, whoever this wasn't, or anything, if you're white or anything like that, or any other race, like, please correct me. But I heard a lot of times Black history wasn't really taught in their homes. It was just taught how to treat others, but really did not teach the history of what they went through. And I heard the reason why from older people was that they didn't want to teach like the history about what happened because they wanted to make their kids feel guilty. So that's the reason why they don't really teach. That's why they teach mainly about Martin Luther King or stuff like that, but they don't really teach about Malcolm X, or they don't teach about like the civil rights movements, like on things like what happened.
Why do you think, Tony, why do you think that is? Because I have my own opinion, but I want to hear you. Why do you think we don't teach real black history in school? Not the surface level shit they teach these kids.
They don't want, I heard one of the excuses I heard was they don't want to make their kids feel guilty. That was one of them. Anything else, I can't speak on because I haven't heard anything else. And plus, I don't, I ain't grew up in a house, so I grew up in a white mixed neighborhood, but not really people, really talking about that as much. Just teaching more about respect more than anything.
Tony, to your point with MLK, they pick and choose what they talk about with MLK. Like they only want to use the judge me on my character, not the color of my skin line. But they don't understand that MLK was a huge proponent for things like reparations, and in fact, he was considered the main public enemy in certain parts of government, particularly with J. Edgar Hoover at that time. Right? So they don't teach that part. They teach that he was marching for liberty and all this stuff. They sugarcoat it. But at the end of the day, a lot of our black leaders were enemies of the state because they were in opposition of white society and white supremacy. Right? A lot of the things that black people have in this country didn't come by way of being Penelope. I can't think of the word. Thank you. I can speak today. It came by way of black people fighting for it first. Right? They had to fight for these things to get these things. If it was that white society just felt as if we're doing something wrong, they would have changed it without us saying a word. And that's never been the case. So they're not going to teach this history because it does come with some kind of shame, as it should.
Oh, let me ask you a question. I'm sorry.
Sure.
And I agree with what Sid wrote, right? But he wrote, they won't dare teach about Malcolm X. He's too radical and conservative. What do you think about that?
Sure. But again, it doesn't take away from the point that I'm making about our black leaders in general, right? The optics on our black leaders is that they were either unalive or made political prisoners. COINTELPRO was a real thing. They felt threatened for the liberation, but the civil rights and what we got out of that is not what we actually wanted, right? It was like a settlement. They still sugarcoated that, right? So, again, they're not going to teach that part. I give credit to Malcolm X, cool, whatever you want to say about him, but it's the holistic thing about black leadership during that time that's the issue that's not being taught. All of it should be taught. European Union should be taught, right? Like all of these people, James Baldwin should be taught. All of these people should be taught as a part of black history, in addition to people like Charles Page, who was the first person to create an aircraft, right? It was sabotaged on the way to a world fair. It was already operational, but it was sabotaged. A train car blew up out of the blue.
What's that kid? What's the kid that died? What's his name? They jumped him and stuff like that. Emmett Till. Like they don't want to show pictures like that or tell people about that stuff. Because when you hear racist people or people that are not educated as much about it, people always want to bring up slavery. Like, oh, you wasn't a slave. Like, okay, yeah, let's take that out. Cool. I wasn't a slave. You're goddamn right, I wasn't. Well, look though, my grandparents did not have the what's it called? The resources or have the ability to do certain things because of the system and everything else like that. And I feel like they don't want to teach that stuff on what happened.
Let me ask you guys a question, right? And anybody's welcome to join in, by the way. Do you feel by the lack of education that these kids are getting, right? It's a form of oppression?
I think it's a way of trying to build. I think it's they trying to build the next generation to not feel guilty. I don't know if it's oppression, but I think they try their best not to have these kids feel a certain way.
It's indoctrination. It is a form of oppression. Sure, unequivocally. If you're black in this country, and there are attempts, all right, allegedly there are attempts to take your books, your history out of publication, out of schools, right? That is oppression. If the history that you learned about has been whitewashed, that's oppression, right? If your black leaders who fought for liberation or assassinated or locked up, that's oppression.
Let me ask you a question, because I'm just playing devil's advocate. Because I hear from the other side, their answer would be, well, isn't it your responsibility as a father to teach your children, not these teachers to teach you your history?
Aren't we Americans? Are we not Americans? Is it not a privilege for is it not a privilege for white society to only teach their history and they're considered Americans? Why wouldn't our history be taught for Americans? If it's American history, why omit that?
Hold on, everybody hold on, Anthony. I want to hand the mic to Anthony, because I believe he wants to have dialogue with you gentlemen.
Yeah, so, on one hand, right, we talk about racism in America. We say America is systemically racist. I mean, we have a lot of smoke, and you're going to depend on the systemically racist country to properly teach your kids. When the pushback is, well, maybe if you want them to learn a particular subject matter, you should teach them home. Well, we pay taxes, it's America, right? It's very, very odd. This is how we get to the upside down. This is how, people just don't, it's fundamentally a lack of responsibility. People want to abdicate their responsibility and blame the system. If Johnny can't read, it's his parents' fault. I don't care what the school system does or doesn't do. We have responsibility. to our children, to our loved ones, to the people that depend on us. And we need to stop shutting and driving and own that shit.
Whose responsibility if Johnny doesn't know foundational principles of algebra?
Yo,
If the parents is supposed to teach your, does the parents teach your child algebra?
okay. If Johnny
Of course not.
foundational principles of
No, they don't. They reinforce it when they get home. Hold on, bro.
Okay. No. Zay, you asked a question, and I'm answering the question.
Let me respond to that.
Okay, cool. No problem. I'll pass it to you.
And I will go after Zay.
So, like, no problem. You got it after.
And I'm gonna go after that.
All good. Got a nice little cute though.
Then
Zay,
there's
Zay,
this slide that
Ross,
you
Ross. Okay. So here's what's up. Now we have people that complain about the system. The kid doesn't pick the school that they go to. There's clearly schools that are capable of teaching that kid whatever it is that you're saying that should be the school's responsibility, which I even disagree with that, idea. But at the same time, it's still the parent's responsibility for the school system that kid lives in. You can't run from it. It's up to the parents to make a decision. We are sum total of our choices. We can't shift and shirk responsibility for our choices. We make up our minds how we want to live, where we want to live, what's important to us in our so-called community. This is what we do as adults, as autonomous beings. Autonomous beings don't blame others for their reality.
So I think when you do have a point, right? I won't be obtuse or intellectually dishonest and say that you don't have one to a degree, right? But I think if we're being honest about the conversation, kids are sent to school to learn. They're being taught. They're not to say that parents don't teach as well. But what kids are learning in school when they come home and do the homework, that's being reinforced about what they learned in school, right? So the initial point was, why are we relying on a racist system to teach our kids anything? Why not be racist? This is the point. Why not? How about don't be racist? And we wouldn't have this conversation, right? If we acknowledge the system is racist, then that's the issue, right? Everything that Black people have done has been done in spite of the system. And we still get blamed. We still get blamed for anything that's happening, as opposed to looking at the system and saying, well, this is the biggest problem. The reason why we had to have HBCUs, because the system was racist. The reason why we don't have free healthcare, because the system is racist, right? The foundational principle of America is racism. Now, what do we like? If we're having an honest conversation, we can't absolve the offender and then blame the victims. That doesn't make any sense. Like, oppression again happens to you. So if our kids in underserved communities aren't receiving the education they need to receive, yes, parents do play a part. Don't get me wrong, they do. But why are we shifting the blame directly to the parents and not looking at the fact that the way it's set up is to not serve them? It's by design. So how about not blaming the parents entirely? And let me ask this question, percentage-wise, how much blame do you think should go to the system because it's racist, inherently?
0.0001%.
Gotcha. Okay. So I know where you stand. I do appreciate the conversation. I'll disengage. Y'all got it.
Okay, Zabo, you got it.
Yeah, you did. Earlier I was trying to tell y'all how I started out my June. Is he in the Matrix or in the Matrix?
I think he's in the Matrix.
This is fair. I do medical transport, and I was dropping somebody off at the hospital. I went inside to use the restroom. I came back in my car, and I was backing out, and I looked to my right. I see a white man smoking a cigarette, running his mouth. I rolled down on window and asked him, "What you say?" He said, "You can't park right there. You're not handicapped." Mind you, the whole parking lot empty. There's really nobody there. We in the back of the parking lot. I said, I just ran in there to use the restroom. When I came back, I just did medical transport to drop somebody off. He said, some, nigger. And my mind just flipped. I say, fuck you, bitch. I can park wherever the fuck I want to. And tell me why he try to flick his cigarette at me. Man, I pull out. I thought about it. He get out the car trying to chase me. He a cripple. He got a cane, all this. He talking about all this shit, but he a cripple. I ain't feel sorry for him, but I wasn't gonna do him as bad I was gonna do him if he was like fully capable. So I spin around to where he hit, right? He come up to my car, started hitting my car. And I had a fucking water bottle in my car. That bitch was full. I undid it. I must have splattered the fuck out of this bitch ass. He trying to get back in his car. I got a motherfucking hand sanitizer bottle with me. I tried to crack his goddamn windshield. I felt so motherfucking happy. And good after that, I felt so motherfucking liberated. I told my people that's for every nigga that had to look down while they was walking by a white man, bitch. Yeah, that's how I started my change.
Quit parking in handicap spaces.
I'm just laughing because somebody gave you the thumbs down. These emojis are wild. They didn't like that story, sir.
Yeah, if you park in a handicap space and you're not legally allowed to, like, people are gonna call you out, man. Like, that's why I don't park in handicap spaces, because I don't want to smoke. I know people are gonna say something to me. I'm a handicap.
So at that moment, he would have threw that lit cigarette at you, what you would have did.
I just want to say real quick, pull me out the queue. Y'all said what I had to say with this whole thing. I don't have anything else to add. Pull me out the queue.
Yeah, I mean, somebody flicking a cigarette at somebody is wrong too, but again, the way my mind works, I go to the root of the problem. And the man was right for saying you're not allowed to park in a handicap space. He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. Now, if he took it overboard, okay, I mean, yeah, that's a problem in itself, but again, the root of the problem was if you had parked in a handicap space, this problem would have never started. It sounds like you technically weren't supposed to be in that space. So it's just logic conversation.
Sid, let's get back to the conversation. Hold on, man. Now, I'm curious, in your opinion, Sid, do you think
Yeah.
legit black history at the campus level they teach?
What's that?
I'll get back to you.
Can you talk for a second?
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Are you Princess, the PTR here, the black girl?
No.
It sounds like a transgender chick that's nauseous all the time.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about, but no, that's not me.
You're not. Hey, I think her name's Princess. It's a black girl. She comes in. She sounds like a dude trying to pretend like he's a girl's voice. And I swear to God, I thought it was you as like a undercover one because it sounds like your voice trying to be normal. She's weak. You know her. Okay. Next is he has it a long time because every time I hear her, I'm very like, Jesus, we talk. I just wanted to say.
Somebody that goes in the sleep health center all the time, and they're like, and they say all kinds of crazy shit.
That's what she sounds like, though. She sounds like you impersonating a woman badly on purpose. Like, it's so comically bad
Yeah.
that I don't know why people take her seriously, but they do. But she also says obnoxious stuff sometimes, outrageous stuff sometimes. Interesting. Okay, fine. All right, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm just live streaming Jay Brusco's room of bullshit. It's like daily racial
Yeah, so you have to think about. So I like Jay personally, and excellent job. But he's doing the same exact topic every fucking day, and it's like I don't want to hear about black people complaining about systematic racism every fucking day.
Yeah.
It sucks because he is a good mod, and if he would mix up the topics and quit like shilling for the freaking black cause just to get big audiences, which is what he does.
Yeah.
And it's the same shit every time. Like, they got a good point. Like, he's a black guy that understands that they got internal issues they got to deal with, And he tries to be kind of like little Bill Cosby in that respect. And he's unpopular with the black community for it. At the same time, he's got a message that makes sense to me. But again, that message, dude, day in and day out, it's comparison.
I think it's like indicative of brain rot.
Well, you can also
most races ever, and I've been attacked, you know, and he'll just keep going back. He'll turn it down so he'll bring in the Jews in order to kind of put himself into the narrative when, I mean, frankly, black people don't give a shit about Jews.
Well, I don't know. It's, you know, there's like this saying, like a mystic or a sage never insults anyone. So it's like I don't have anything against him personally. I just, you know, for me, he does organize long form content, and it's these rooms that can go all day long. There are people on this app that will start at 7 in the morning and they will stop at 2 in the morning. So that's like a 5-hour window of not being on here, and then they go right back to it. I'm just like, what's going on in your personal life that you can actually be here or want to be here for, you know, 19 hours a day, 7 days a week? I mean, and plus, see, the thing is, if you're just listening, that's actually you're saving a lot of time. Like when I'm just listening, I am doing things, and it just. But when you are talking, it does actually really cut into your personal productivity.
Oh, 100%. And that's, I mean, I listen probably 6, 7, 8 hours a day, but I'm literally drywalling and working the entire time. I don't even chime in, right? I just listen the whole time. And so it's background noise for me, but I'm working all day hard. The minute I want to make a comment on there or something, I totally stop working. So these people that are talking, you're right, the people that are talking in and out all day long, even if it's like not consistent, continuous, but it's consistently in and out, they're not doing anything else because your brain can't be productive and also, you know, pay attention to the conversation close enough if you're doing that. What? And you're right, they're on here for hours and hours and hours.
Why don't you do an audiobook recording session with me when you have like 30 minutes free in your home, in a quiet room, and just read Ecclesiastes or the Tao Te Ching or any kind of mystic wisdom book, and just like, let's create a clown house room, let's record it, put it on YouTube. We don't have to use your name, but you know, I'm telling you that like the experience of reading.
Oh no, I love it. I love to read out loud. I really enjoy it actually. I mean, I can do that with you if I set aside a time, like an appointment, and I show up for it. I can do that if it's after hours. So
yeah,
if you want to set that time for like 8 to 9 p.m. on a weeknight or something, then I can commit to it and show up for it.
Okay. How do you want me to message
you're right,
you?
I gotta stop. I gotta leave my family, go up in a quiet, go in the corner of my bedroom quietly or something, and then, you know, just focus on it.
Yeah.
But I will do that if I can. I spontaneously am gonna keep putting it off, but if we schedule it, I'll show up for it for sure.
Okay.
And I do really enjoy it. It would be good practice anyway. I'd like to. I mean, to be honest with you, ultimately, if I could figure out if I could get good at it, I would really enjoy narrating content for recording purposes anyway. Like it's something that I enjoy doing. So if I could get my voice to be, I don't know, if I can focus on keeping it consistent so that it, you know, it sounds more, I mean, because I have kind of a high nasally voice naturally, so I'd have to kind of like change it on purpose and slow down while I'm reading.
No, I don't think you do.
Energy at the same time.
I don't think you do. I think
So,
you can
don't
read
think
it.
it matters?
No, I mean, just read it how you naturally feel it.
Okay.
Because
I'd rather do that.
part of the thing is it's not just about the recording, but it's about actually doing the work of running the script through your brain. But also it's about breaking up what people are listening to and saying here on this app, because it's like injecting a software program into them as well if we can get them to come to the room. So.
Well, that's the thing. How do you get them to come to the room if the topic is something of value rather than just salacious bullshit?
People go to rooms not even on the titles, but just based on PTRs, which means they're like following people. So it's not even the topic. Right. Every topic is the same stupid topic because it's all brain rot.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why I say, like, use, like, you know, you can manipulate reality by manipulating what you're reading, what you're saying, and what other people are listening. it's all just for fun, but the sacred wisdom text stuff, like I've read Confucius, and when you read Confucius, you know how fucked we are as a society because we don't actually have real education. It's all fucking bullshit, you know? I mean, when you read Confucius, you're like, oh shit, like this is definitive. Like it's almost undebatable. If you read the Dhamma,
It's pretty timeless.
it's timeless, yeah. It's all ethics, morals, virtues, and you know I've taken like a morals, ethics, virtues class, but it doesn't even come close to that information where you're like, okay, we are sorely lacking in decision making. I mean, even the war in Iran, like what Israel has done, you know, like I mean, there's not a speck of dust out of place in the whole universe, but in the future, if there's no more enemies, like there has to be some type of global reprogramming initiative or something, you know, to essentially de-escalate. I mean, dude, I mean, I don't know about you, but like, I don't want to live through a nuclear war. You know?
Well, right, and even like the mega party that was staunchly anti-war is now, you know, they're turning against Trump a little bit, but Trump is now considering going into Iran again, and it could start with some bombing and end up with some limited special forces, and it could grow from there, and suddenly we're back into that shit again. Like it's about to happen again, and it's all in defense of Israel. See, I think Israel has to handle their own shit. I get that the threat's real. I totally understand that, but if they don't have the right bombs to do it, we shouldn't come in and do it for them. We just shouldn't. They need to handle their own shit.
You know what the funniest, the irony is you think that we're not already doing it. We are doing it. Like, without us, Israel wouldn't have been able to do any of this. They're using our planes. They're using our bombs. They're using our money. I mean, are you serious?
I agree with that.
It's the 51st state of America.
It's one thing to give them the tech. It's another thing to come in and personally do it with tech that we haven't already given them because they don't have it in order to escalate the capabilities on a one-on-one basis, but still claim that it's not our agenda.
See, also,
like, those are two different things. I get like selling them the equipment that they can afford, and then them using that equipment. But that's not quite the same thing as us saying, oh, well, the bombs we actually need are going to be multiple in the same spot, not just one. And they can only be dropped by B2, which you guys don't have. So, we can't really sell you the bombs because you don't have the delivery mechanism. So we're just going to take care of the whole thing for you. But it's not our fight.
Well, the other irony is, it's like when we say they're using all of our stuff, I swear to God, it's like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and all these other corps. They would exist whether the U.S. existed or not. So it's like I don't know. Maybe there's just not a speck of dust out of place in the whole universe. But
right, but they would, and they would sell to if the U.S. didn't exist to buy their shit, they would sell that powerful shit to other countries. That would just be more powerful than the U.S. Someone's got to buy it. The company's not going to go out of business. Look at Skunk Works. I went to this Air Force munitions museum in Florida recently, and they had all the Skunk Works stuff there. And I was looking at it, and it's so incredibly more advanced than the non-Skunk Works stuff. Like what they're delivering, what they're creating. I don't know if you know this, but they made an SR-73 now. Is SR-71, 72, 72, whatever the number is after the last. I think the last one was 71. So they have an SR-72 now. It's about ready to be released to the public. It's already flying, and it's Skunk Works. They're like decades ahead of what I think most Americans even think is happening, and they're not going to stop doing that just because the U.S. quits buying their shit.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's so. You know what the craziest thing is? When you hear women on this app screaming for the death of the regime, and I don't think they understand what that like. It's just so crazy when you hear like a woman screaming for killing and war and death and regime change and chaos and mayhem. You're like, well, there's a reason why you're single.
I actually feel that way with a lot of people on this app who do most of the talking.
Yeah. Because
of the fact that, I mean, it's increasingly obvious to me the more I spend time on here nowadays, and this wasn't so obvious early on when I was on here, to me, it's increasingly obvious that the issues that are discussed on here are not even really issues in the real world. Like when I step outside in the real world, like the only way I can explain it is like I'll feel attacked. I'll feel like, oh my God, like I'm just a white piece of shit and nobody likes me. And then I'll go out in the real world and I realize that no, I'm actually really important to a lot of people for a lot of reasons, and we don't talk about the things that are on Clubhouse at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like Clubhouse does not represent the real world at all. Clubhouse is a really, really small microcosm of really angry people with a lot of obnoxious opinions. And even if normal humans have those obnoxious opinions deep inside them, most of them never let them come out because they don't have a resource to do it. They don't have Clubhouse, so there's nowhere else. There's nowhere that's appropriate to be like you are in Clubhouse in the real world. It just doesn't exist.
Well,
There's extreme politics.
There's this good saying I read the other day. It says, "To know all is to forgive all." So, like everybody is like this hyper conditioned product of their past. What was the other thing I gonna say? Is that so I was at the gym yesterday, and I'm wearing shorts that are American. It's like an American flag. It's like a giant American flag cut up. Anyways, it's a print. It's a print. It's a print of the American flag, and I got so many. I felt like I was getting so many nasty looks, and judgments or something about not even being like, "Oh, you're disgracing the flag by wearing it," but like, "I hate you, American gringo," like you're a piece of shit. So I felt very self-conscious. Then I go and I work out for 30 minutes on the treadmill, and then afterwards, my attitude totally changed, and I'm thinking like, can people even see me? Meaning that like. They're so conditioned by the image or by the the logo that like I'm not even a person in their eyes. But what I'm saying is it's about my neurochemistry, because after I did the workout, I wasn't even thinking about what people are. I'm thinking about how people are thinking about me. But after the workout, I'm just in a flow state, not thinking about what people are thinking about, which is crazy to even do to begin with. It's like mind reading, and you're like, okay, I'm not a mind reader. Why am I thinking about what I think people are thinking about me? It's so crazy.
It's true. My daughter watched Interstellar with me for the first time this weekend, and she absolutely loved it. But what she loved about it is that it's so realistic and sci-fi at the same time. It's not like science fiction sci-fi. It's more like a non-fiction sci-fi, and in a lot of ways. And she loved the movie. It's a masterpiece anyway, and I think it's one of the best movies ever made. So I was really excited to share it with her. But I think she talked a lot. She told me yesterday. She said, "I keep thinking about that movie." And I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, "You know what I keep thinking about is how we all think about we all worry about what other people think of us, and we all spend time doing this amongst one another, and then across the board, we are all completely insignificant in the greater scope of things. So we're like creating drama that's completely unnecessary between ourselves, when realistically, like none of us are important enough for the drama to even, be of value."
Yeah.
And it's true. It's complete, and she's right. And it's like, yeah, when you look at the greater scope of things, what we are, is absolutely nothing. We're a speck in time of nothingness that will not be remembered, no matter what we accomplish in our lives in the long run. It just won't happen. So I don't know. It's just interesting to think how finite we are and how unimportant we are, and yet how incredibly important we all think we are ourselves when we're stuck in our own brains, and how we worry about what other people think of us. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's stupid. I worry way less about it than I used to, for sure. But I mean, I don't talk a lot on Clubhouse ever anymore. I just don't like it. I just don't like the task. I don't like how it takes me away. I'm a busy dude. I get a lot of shit done, and I don't like how it takes me away from getting shit done when I'm engaged in it. But as background noise, I mean, I go between Clubhouse and audiobooks. The audiobooks I usually listen to are topics that spur my attention on Clubhouse that I want to go deeper into. So I might get, I'm listening to this because of Jay's rooms, actually. This guy challenged me to listen to this book. I'm not going to get all the way through it. I can't handle it. I can't handle the narrative, but it's called My Grandmother's Hands, and it's kind of like a secondary version written by another person of the white guilt was the one that Angela, what's her name, wrote. You know, I'm talking about the Angela, whatever her name is.
Mm-hmm.
Which I also actually read the whole thing of. I really want to understand if systemic racism is real or if it's not. I really want to understand it. I'm really curious to see if it's a real thing or if it's completely made up or what.
It's totally everything is a construct. But
right.
The thing is, though, like
right.
if you've been through the military or if you've been through some type of like initiation with a Black African American, you judge each other based on your proficiency and intelligence, decorum, etc.
Right.
So it's like,
well, and that's why I tend to think it's bullshit because the people that talk a lot about this stuff, none of them have been in a situation where you had to depend on one another on an equal basis. That's what the Marine Corps did for me. Yeah. Is that when I hear people like, oh yeah, racism doesn't exist in the military. Well, I'm not saying it doesn't exist in the military, but it kind of doesn't exist in the military. Like when you're there doing the fucking job, you're absolutely right. Like you depend on each other. You really don't think about it. You really don't. I never did. I thought less about race than ever when I was in the Marine Corps.
I know it's bullshit because I've worked with enough Black people in my life to know that they're actually better than me. So, like, they are succeeding and are of such high quality and character that it's like, how could I as an individual believe this narrative when I've witnessed African Americans far exceed my capabilities, in all experiences. So it's like, this is stupid. This is just this is politics. That's what it is. It's racial ID politics.
Yeah, it is. And Jay doubling down on it lately, like I said, I like when he breaks the clubhouse as somebody who's so good at moderating. He makes everybody feel important and heard, which is really amazing to do. It's really hard to do. And he's able to talk about difficult topics.
But they're just politics. I agree, but it's all just politics content. That's all he's really doing. And
I guess that's where I'm going with this. He's good at it. I wish he would do talk about other things.
Well, this is the funniest thing when a guy, like a very strong African American male who is, let's say gifted in speech and what you could call the spirit, because he starts referencing God and the soul and how we're all brothers and this is one huge humanity. There are really great African American preachers, essentially, that essentially deflate the racial ID politic and increase the spiritual politic to a very high level. And that's when I can't stop laughing because, that type of intelligence unifies, but the other one completely fractures. So it's just amazing to hear the opposite in a spiritual fashion, which totally deflates the political rhetoric.
So what you're basically saying is the spiritual aspect of the narrative is really, really important.
It only comes out occasionally. You only hear it like one day a week, to tell you the truth. It's so rare that you hear that type of a speaker. But when you do, it makes everybody shut up because you're like, okay, he's right. You can't debate that. Like, if you want to debate that, now we're talking about prove to me God doesn't exist game. So these are all political linguistic games. Oh, so this is how it works. So in Japan they call it Zen, which is really just a game of one-upmanship. But people get really nasty in the game, So it's rare. So there's basically it's called the sociopath. I would categorize Jay Breska as being a highly narcissistic sociopath. I mean, you've seen his criminal record, right?
No, he's 100% that. That's why he's so damn charismatic. You can really follow. You can track the way that he manipulates other people with compliments.
It's so.
You can really track it when you're paying attention to it. How he goes back and forth. And he's good at it. And he hits every person with it. Every person. But if you piss him off,
Well, I don't. Over here in Chicago, there's a park close to my house, and for King's Day, no King's Day, the kids use chalk to write all kinds of nasty propaganda messages. Like, I wish I would have photographed it. But sure, the kids use chalk to write all these like propaganda messages on the sidewalk. And some of them were so extremist that it's like, I wish I would have photographed it. But the local alderman must have become aware because he quickly removed it all with a power blaster.
Well, these people don't understand how good they have it. I'm not saying America's perfect. It's not. But there's not a lot of better alternatives. That's the problem. The problem is they just don't know what they don't know.
If you talk to any veteran of a foreign war, and you ask them about what it's like in the third world, they will straight up tell you Americans have no idea what it's like in the third world and how many third world operations that the U.S. does. It's a different planet in villages. They don't have running water.
Right. Yeah, I mean, things they worry about are probably close to the things we worry about. And we're so lucky to be born here. I mean, I did the math one time. We have a 1% chance. So I think I looked it up. What was it? I think it was 7%. It was between 6 and 11% chance of being born in America. And it might even be less than 6. I just looked up recently, dude. I can't remember the number. But I remember thinking, wow, that's really remote. And so you start thinking how lucky you are just being born in America.
Well, I don't.
Born here. Doesn't matter how you are. How lucky are you?
You know how I know this game will never stop? Because I'm looking at like books from West Point, from VMI, from Citadel, from the Naval Academy, from the Air Force Academy, and then you have 150 other ROTC colleges that put out officers every single year, adding to the ranks. There's just a whole lot of people that are highly trained, and they spend their whole lives preparing for conflict, for acts of violence and defense. I don't know. Isn't it weird though that like we also don't put out like a meditation, a peace course, philosophy, psychology? I mean, this is all therapeutics. It's like we do therapy with I don't know. This country's just crazy, man. It's just a crazy country. Like we don't prepare for peace. We prepare for war, like day in day out.
Look at our budget. Look at our budgets, and like the one thing that never gets cut is defense. Ever. Under any circumstances. We let people be retarded in school. We let public schools go to shit. And we won't even take a snippet of our defense in order to fix it. That's crazy to me. I don't know, man. I don't know. The world is not good, John. Not a good place.
See, I can easily get melancholy, or depression. But you know how I know that it's all just a state of mind is because when I read books and I record myself doing it, that programming it immediately helps you, and then there's like a longer term help because I have retained memory about really, I would say God, but also peace, balance, equilibrium, strength, joy. Like I have all the positive words to counteract really what I would call clown world. I think most people are living in a depressed state because the situation is so finely ground down and sanded and polished. You were born when you're born with your social security number, you're put into an immediate index of our civilization or our population. It's only 330 million supposed social security numbers, like Palantir, Social Security Administration, they know our exact population. They know everyone's income. They know everybody's location. Like everything everything you've ever sent to the government, it's not digitized though. So I don't know. That's what Palantir is working on. Is they're looking to completely digitize the government and take all pre-existing records and digitize them. You know how impossible that is? How stupid that is? But they're like that book scanning program. Remember when Google was scanning books?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're doing that anymore, but that really, I guess it would be possible because if you think about how many more books there are than there are citizens of America. I mean, people who say like we're gonna go to World War III, it's like, bitch, we've been in World War III since 2001. What do you think the fuck? That is a world war. It's all about our labeling. It's about what the media says and what the government puts out. This is a 24-year World War III. Like it's been a never-ending conflict since 9/11, nonstop. And even prior to that, fucking Clinton was bombing.
But that's why I do believe that we need that for profit's sake. I do believe that we do that because of profit. I think we make money off war. That's it. It's a war. It's a money-making endeavor. That's it. I mean, we don't even do it. We don't do it for morality reasons anymore. I think we figured out that we can make a lot of money doing it. And it was and the main point when we figured that out was in the Gulf War, when we started right after that. Right after the Gulf War, we started privatizing the military. That's when BlackRock or whatever. That's when it became a good reason to do it full time, to continue it, to find somewhere to be doing it all the time. Before, I think we did it for altruistic reasons. I think we really believed in spreading democracy in the Middle East at one point. I think we really believed it was better for them, better for us, and that it was a moral decision. And then it changed.
So what type of a settlement do you think Iran or Ukraine will be able to seek or get?
I mean, I think Iran would have to it's basically what Saddam Hussein agreed to before he started fucking with it, which was the inspections of their nuclear facilities and then ceasing to do it. I think they're going to have to literally walk away from that and then open themselves up to inspections. I don't think there's anything else they can agree to. There's absolutely, I mean, dismantling what we know they already have, and then opening themselves to inspections.
But don't you think that the regime is an organism, and that would essentially be like the organism saying we're no longer an organism, and therefore the only way for the organism to change is for it to die and for it to be reborn.
Yeah, you can do that, but because my other thing I'll say about it is if we do the other thing I thought about, opening it up, it won't last forever. They'll start cheating again. Anyway, they'll start playing games with the inspections. Kind of what Saddam Hussein was doing. Remember, Saddam Hussein, I don't know if people remember this. He was moving sites before the inspectors showed up with trucks that were fully capable of having nuclear-sized weapons on them. So there was actually a lot of reason for us to believe that he was moving around shit and playing games with us. And I don't know if it's because he thought he had them and his people were afraid to tell him they didn't, or whether he knew they didn't, he was fucking and he wanted to look up. But he was tricking us to believe he had them anyway. And to the mass destruction. Then we fell into it. And evidence to support what we wanted in the first place. People remember that part.
I think what's so annoying.
Yeah.
Bro, I stopped taking Adderall in 2011. Like, you remind me of me when I was in the military in Iraq in, like,
ass off patch and working hard while I'm talking, and I will talk fast and continuously while I'm working hard.
Yeah.
But then when I'm not,
That's when you do it, though.
that's fine. I'm not. So whether or not I sound like it, I couldn't give a fuck less. But the reality is this, you motherfucker. I actually talk on this app about 100 the amount I do. So if you think I'm on Adderall while I'm talking now, then just wait until I spend hours and hours never talking, never coming to stage, never participating on. You never do that. You have to be the center of fucking attention all the time. You cannot sit on here and listen to anybody without making yourself the fucking focus of it. So you are not the person who's telling me what I sound like. If I sound like I'm out, great. It's because I'm busting my ass holding a 50-pound bag of basketball going right now. What are you doing, you lazy fuck?
I ran 3 miles this morning.
So I don't give a fuck what you think I sound like. I just don't. Calm. And then when I'm sitting on a fucking drinking a beer.
Okay, so I wanted to
That's all
say,
I'm doing. I'm working.
that, with regards to the Iran conflict, what I find very annoying is that there's never our minds constantly want an answer and want a problem solved, rather quickly. And unfortunately, these wars go. It's basically every. It just doesn't end. Every single fucking day, continuously since 9/11. It's like the point is, the one with Iran, this is the big one. This is the big one.
This is the biggest get. If only because the news are so fucking defensive and afraid. And nobody has that too.
Mike, you're a Marine, and I'm an Army guy, Hebrew, and you don't like me. So let's fight about it.
Listen, let's just take a deep breath and do no personal attacks in this room, and don't mention any other speaker's name. I'm gonna invoke the Uncle Steve rule, and why don't you two just go within and take a deep breath and not mention it.
I'm not even looking at my phone. This fucker has to come in a room and start telling me what I sound like. I'm talking to Josh. I'm having a conversation with him. It has nothing to do with your stupid ass. Leave the fucking room. You do this. You're like, I'm not a phone. You got a phone with me. You got a phone for me. And every fucking time I show up,
It's like you went there and you had to get a t-shirt.
every time I fucking show up, you have to stop and center me in your narrative. It's a fucking joke. You have a fucking heart out for me. And I don't know what it is about you, you lame-ass motherfucker.
Okay, I'm just gonna end the room, and I pray that you all go in peace and joy. I'm gonna recreate a new room because I don't want to listen to this. So this has been Jay Bresco, Racial ID, Democrat grifter, stirring the shit pot. I hope you all have a great day, and I will talk with you all soon. Bye.
Steve, read, please.
Okay, this is listen, don't speak, stop talking, meditate.
Articulates the Confederacy and their needs and states' right and it being about culture. Those are lies. Simple things like George Washington had slaves' teeth in his mouth, but they say they were wooden teeth. Every aspect of the stuff that we actually learn in school is just literal made-up bullshit. A lot of it. So what people do is because they don't know, most people don't know any better, they say, well, we need more Black history. No, we don't. We just need to understand American history. When it comes to this country, there's too many points to make, so I'll just land here. When it comes to this country, Vera made a good point, right? We're not all slaves. The Olmec civilization, right, was here not just before Christopher Columbus, which is a bunch of bullshit, right? But they were here before most of the Aztec, the Mayan, and the Incan civilization. Phenotype, Negroid, thousands of Africans in America thousands of years ago. That's factual. The state of California is named for a black woman named Khalifa. I asked all of my friends in California, did they teach you this? The state that you live in is named for a black woman because they thought they had reached the mythical land with black women on horses? No, they didn't even teach them that. So yes, you guys are sort of right. Black history should be taught. But the reason that Keegan has the mentality that he's had is because what Bernard Kinsey, he has a collection called the Kinsey Collection. You guys can research it. He's a good friend of mine. The Kinsey Collection teaches about the myth of absence. If you continue to teach history as if black people were a part of it, then it will be otherized. Their children will think they don't have a contribution, and it literally contributes to a version of an identity that doesn't have them have confidence. And even spiritually, right? The reason that you teach people that say these in Christianity that they are the inheritance of God and they have a house on seven hills or what have you, that language is so that people don't feel less than. So they feel an inherent spiritual wealth. If you continue to teach the lies that were designed to disenfranchise, to otherize, and to subjugate our people, if you just taught the truth, you don't have to call it Black history. Call it history of America. That's what it should be called.
Thank you, CO. So listen, guys, I'm going to be listening in, but I won't be able to chime in. So I'm going to let the other mods run the room. CO, Keegan, did you want to say something in rebuttal to that?
Yeah, again, this is my point will continue to be, I think, a lot of point that a lot of people are at, even not just white people, black people as well, which is that when you teach history in the scope of these people are evil, they've done wrong to you, that you've gone from the worst of the worst situation to the worst of the worst situation to the worst situation to now a situation that they won't acknowledge, right? This is how a lot of black people, a lot of white teachers will also teach black people their history. I think that's doing disservice not to just our country, but to our communities. And I think that if we continue to do this, just like on Juneteenth and on Black History Month, when everyone goes, we're not focusing on Black history enough. Well, during Black History Month, all I see when you turn on Netflix, when you turn on Hulu, when you turn on CNN, when you turn on even Fox News, you'll be talking about something in the form of Black history.
And that's what's really interesting. Let me agree with you on a point. Keegan, here's where you're right? I don't hate white people. I hate when people say whitey. I hate when people blame stuff on white people, right? That's the problem. If we really wanted to cross a boundary and transcend, we can literally stop that BS, right? But they demand that we put black everywhere in every government document, every election. They want to know if we're black. Every survey, they want to know if we're black. I agree with you. I'm tired of them trying to otherize us as black for the purposes of the government. What I think, Keegan, and I say it all the time, I don't have a problem with white people. Because white people I rock with more than brown-skinned people. Because I focus on the state of mind, right? Your state of mind is the type of people that I typically like to hate. So JB has white skin, but I rock with JB. I'm being funny, but let me just say this. I hate Confederates because they're treasonous anti-Americans that wanted to subjugate people, and they were too lazy. So I don't think history should be told through the lens of these were the bad white people, but just the bad Confederates that hated America. You fall into that category. You might be a descendant of the Confederates, but I think use words. The irony is we try to use words to censor people. So what happens is we'll have somebody like a Keegan, who I've been on many a stage with, who I definitely don't agree with as being racist. I think that's nonsense. We'll try to put that label on him. We'll try to put that jacket on him in straight vernacular. It's trying to put Keegan into a trick bag because he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't. There's no win for Keegan. So, what we hope will happen is he gets silenced. By calling him a racist, we'll effectively shut him up. That is the goal of, the people that focus on calling everyone that critically talks about, people other than themselves as racist. That's just a net effect.
That sounds like something a racist would say.
Well, here's the irony. So, it's good that you're saying that because you know why, Devon? Like, it's hard for them to say, "Oh, a black person is racist." It's hard. It's like like when a woman speaks ill of feminism, it's hard to say that she's a misogynist. It's hard. It's the same concept. They would if they could, and they sometimes even try to do it. They will sometimes try to do it. We look at those police officers in Memphis. Oh, yeah, they got castigated, and they're like that's systemic racism. The crazy part is that they got acquitted, but we don't hear about the acquittal. We hear about the sizzle, the noise when it happens.
Let me jump in for 2 seconds because I'm doing some things around my house. And this is no smoke for Keegan, right? I should have done space to eat this gentleman. I'm not going to call him a racist, but I will say I've heard him say some racial ideologies. I'll say that. Wait. Well, he wants to separate blacks and whites. They should live separately, but there's no example. Hold on a second. Can I finish? Thank you. And I'm not saying those blacks aren't racist. I know it's a shock to some people that blacks can be racist, in my opinion. And I'm not going to speak for Keegan. Keegan can speak for himself. I think, and listen, I'll be honest with you, Keegan and I aren't fans of each other, but I've seen growth with Keegan, right? He'll have the conversation civilly now, where before he would just shut it down. That's why I asked him to stay a little longer today, instead of dropping when he's going to drop it and walk out the door. I understand, listen, Keegan's a father. I'm sure he's a great father, right? He has a life, he has a job. But I know what I heard. That it went to the thought of my head, he has racist ideologies. Now, if he wants to dispute it, be my guest.
No, I'm not going to dispute what JB said. I do believe that black culture is, in 2025, because black culture has shifted, I think, from the 60s and the 50s. But black culture 2025 is anti-American culture and should be separated from American society.
In New York or like Southern black culture?
The typical mainstream black culture. I think that involves New York and Southern.
So you would say, from a non-black person, that all black culture, and I'm assuming by black you mean like American black people, that they all share one culture? Is that your perspective?
No, I mean they all have like everyone has subculture. Like Midwest whites have a different culture than Northeast whites, but we all still have a typical atypical culture that we all still coexist in, and then we might have our subcultures. So I say that black culture, the rap, twerking, drinking, drug use, that type of culture is anti-American, and we should all
right. No, I understand that. And what about the black people that don't engage in that?
Those black people are not engaging in that culture.
Can I give the cue, JB?
Wait, can I just say something really
What does that
quickly?
mean that they are? So if they're not,
One mic on NY. I'm sorry, Devon. One mic on NY.
Roger's here. Hold on. Let me just say this before we move past.
Wait, did somebody mute me? Okay, let me say something. Okay, I just want to say this. Hold on a second. Do you have the same smoke for the white people that do the same exact thing that you described?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, white people will engage in that black subculture. I completely disagree with. They shouldn't.
But why is it just black subculture? Why can't it be white subculture that black society?
The white subculture that's wrong is the white trash. I think we all know about this. The white trash hillbilly culture that allows domestic violence and allows alcoholism to affect the family's home, allows meth use. Right, that culture I called out the same way. But there was again. I mean, I'm shocked by this. So do you not believe there's ratchet ghetto culture? I'm very confused.
I mean, so is rock and roll and country music also anti-American because they talk a lot about drugs?
Mike, I jump in. Wait, can I just say this really quick, Roger, and I swear you have it. To the point before we move past it, Keegan suggested we live separate, and someone said a lot of black people would agree with that. Let me introduce myself. Naima here. I don't want to live in Niggerville. Have y'all been to white neighborhoods? Hey, listen, they have better fast food options, better grocery stores, and Starbucks. All right? I don't want to live separate from the white folks. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Yeah, but those are black cities under white control. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, let me jump in here. So, first of all, I'm going to say this as respectfully as I can, Keegan. But you're a fucking retard. And I'll explain why. You have identified black culture as you've looked at a minority of blacks and you've said that defines black culture. I would guess that you've never stepped foot into a black church. I would imagine that you don't understand the politics of black America, which is very diverse, by the way. But I would make this statement to you. When I hear a lot of white people running around talking about like conservative family values, there's no way that white America embodies those values as much as the Catholics that have come from Latin America, the folks that have come from Asian cultures that are absolutely dedicated to family home, that sort of thing. But I will tell you, in black circles that I run in, because it tells me that you don't have many black friends, I would say that they're among the most conservative that I've ever met. When you think of things like their defense of traditional relationships between a man and a woman, when you think of their dedication to their religion, the values that they have around teaching their family about hard work, I just think that you don't have black people in your circle, and what you've done is you've adopted your views based on watching things that you've seen like on YouTube and TikTok. I don't think that you kick it in the hood, and I would tell you that yes, there are absolutely people from every culture that are out there fucking wilding out, including white people. And the fact that you've isolated your attention and you've decided that you want to separate yourself because of things that you've seen on fucking social media, I would encourage you, yes, go fucking isolate yourself. Because I'll tell you this, I wouldn't want you in my neighborhood, and there's not a lot of black people in my neighborhood, it's usually just Indians, whites, and Asians, but I wouldn't want you in my neighborhood. And I wouldn't want you in my neighborhood because A, you're ignorant, and B, I don't think that you walk when you talk, because there's ways to isolate yourself. You don't have to sit here and talk about you think there should be a separation between whites and blacks. You have it within yourself to go do that, but you're not about that shit. You just like to talk shit on the internet. And the reason you do is because you would never say this shit face to face with anybody because you're a fucking pussy. I'll yield.
Yeah, if I can bring up some on this real quick. Let's give Keegan a chance to respond. Yeah, Keegan should have a chance to respond.
Roger, you make a lot of assumptions about me. I'm not going to make any assumptions about you. I did actually attend one time a black Pentecostal church when I was living out in Virginia. I've been to Southern Baptist churches that are full of black people as well. I actually don't mind Southern Baptist blacks. I went to an all-black Pentecostal church. It was really interesting, actually. I saw women twerking. For the Lord, for the name of Jesus, twerking at this black Pentecostal church. But my point again is I don't want this separation of black and white. I've made this very clear. I want the separation just like, the separation of white trash and your regular suburban whites. I want the separation of black culture that has affected the inner cities, but is now affecting suburban America. I've shared this story multiple times now. I have more than just that story, but we're now in my own day-to-day life, where my community, just like yours, is Rogers, mostly white. And but now I go to a park, and there was apartment buildings that were just built that are government housing, and this park is now full of it's very ethnically diverse, and I've already had to deal with a swath of individuals who could care less about everyone else in the park, and they play their rap music really loud, and they don't care what their children are doing, and they again have no decorum and respect for the public space. And again, my point is that I don't like ratchet ghetto blackness, and I think that we should separate that from society. And the difference between white trash and ghetto black is that white trash, they stay out. They stay in the country and trailer parks. They don't affect anyone. While ghetto black travel now. They travel because of gentrification, and they go into the suburban areas, and they travel, and they, again, have no decorum, no respect. I can talk to white trash, and they usually aren't going to try to fight me over it. You really can't talk to black people, or ghetto black, and that's my.
Keegan, I'm kind of curious what you believe is American culture. And the drug comment, I've lived in a lot of different areas, and I'm very familiar with drug culture in a lot of different cultures. But drugs are rampant in the middle class, lower class, upper class, different types of drugs. And, I'm really confused on what is, in your view, American culture. Because American culture, in my opinion, can vary a lot. When I lived out west, going out in the desert and shooting guns, that was the culture out there. Off-roading. Now, I've lived in Chicago. That has its own culture, mix of cultures, a lot of different cultures. Right now I'm in Green Bay. Green Bay itself has, its self-culture. So, this whole thing of American culture, and I'll also say this, I used to have a lot, not as much as you, but I did have some hate. I used to have some hate, and I used to be kind of closed-minded about some things. And whether it was racism or not, I was definitely closed-minded. And I would honestly say, I'm speaking on my personal experience, I would try to do some inner work. I do feel that you probably have some hate, just like I used to. I do feel you have way more than I do. But I would try to do some self-work on yourself. Try to do the God's work. And, I'm a work in progress. I'm not perfect by all means. I'm not a saint. I'd probably never be. And the day I just say I'm a saint, you know what? That's the day I need to look back in that mirror. But I'm always trying to look in that mirror. So I would try to examine this one more, where this is coming from internally.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank personally David and Mojo. I don't want to be racist, but you seem as if you might have white voices, whatever that means, and contribute.
How dare you?
Go figure, right? I appreciate your authenticity. And Keegan, me and you, I think, have had some good conversations. And one person said it right. I got to be careful when I say you're a racist. It speaks to the terminology that has a literal definition of being able to subjugate or control or having power with the prejudice, right? Hold on a second. I'm just saying the words racism, prejudice, and bias, what they literally mean are different things. So we use the words interchangeably, but they actually mean something separate. Is the point I'm saying. My point is I can't judge your heart or your history, but most of the shit you say that I've heard is pretty fucking racist for what it was worth, right? And I will stand on that. But the point is, I think the current administration, for what it was worth, has emboldened a lot of people to not have to be politically correct and speak their minds. So I think these are spaces and places where we're at a different stage of being able to discuss this stuff, and maybe there's something productive to it. But Keegan, what I would say to you, man, is what I said before, like, this for you to say that movies about my culture just because it makes you feel bad that people were terrible back in those days. I hate to say it. You don't have to own all of that. That's not who you were. But they were pretty terrible. They were rapists. They tortured people. Genocide was normal. They stole the country. They demonized savages as if they were the savages while they're taking their land and fucking their women. So what I'm saying is, I know we like to think of America in a particular way, and that's okay. The ideals of America, the thing that America said it wants to be is beautiful. It's the most beautiful country in the world. But we have to do the same thing with America that people on the stage are demanding that black people do. That self-deprecation where black people need to own itself and hold itself responsible. Let's make a parallel and have America do the same thing and just tell the truth about its history. So Keegan, you don't look at these black things as black things, but rather American things. What it was worth. I'll land.
Thank you, CEO. So, hold on a second, bro. I'm going to come to you. I got to say hello to my friend King 334 Mom. He's been down in the VIP section for a while, and I just want to say good morning. Good morning, King.
Good morning, brother.
I thought we agreed we're going to call him Queen from now on.
No, we're going to call you Queen.
All right, let's keep the good conversation, good spirits going, guys, please. Let's not get derailed. King, did you want to chime in before I go to Shipwreck?
I like, me personally, I like Keegan. I think that sometimes on these clubhouse stages, we like to have an echo chamber. I like white people who are unapologetically white. You don't have to pretend to like me. I'm cool. You get what I'm saying? Some black people don't like yellow black people. Some white people don't like ratchet, low-class, white trash, hillbilly shit. I like Keegan. I think he's just great. I'm being real with you, JD. So for the people that's getting mad at Keegan, I believe you like the Klan. You like your whiteness under a sheet. I like white people who will say, no, I don't like that shit. And sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you, JD, sometimes it's a neighbor like Keegan who, to be honest with you, he won't fuck with you all the way, but he'll say hello, but he won't terrorize you. And then it'll be a ghetto family that move into the neighborhood that's jumping people outside. And you're like, oh, what the fuck is going on? Why are they jumping people? Oh, they just moved in from Chicago. And I love Chicago. But this is what's going on here. So I think that people like Keegan should speak, and I think more black people should actually speak and say, you know what, I'm different. My mom and dad been married 40 years, still together. My aunties, my uncles, everybody's married. We come from black fathers that raised their kids. Okay, so black people have to start standing up too and separating ourselves from the bullshit. So that's how I feel. And shout out to Juneteenth. JB, that's another thing. I ain't even gonna elaborate on that, but shout out to you.
Thank you, kid. Hold on, Anthony. I'm gonna come right back to you. Let me get to Shepard because he's been patiently waiting.
Hey, JB, great room as always. As another white person, I suppose. Algonquin and white, but kind of mixed between. But these rooms and these conversations are great. Keegan, your contribution to it, even if you're getting beat up a little bit, you just have to look at the viewpoint that you're looking at it as. If we tie back to the original point of the conversation where you were saying, yeah, every movie has to be about this, well, why don't we take some honesty at it and say, hey, why did Grandpa give him that many first? History is about first. We're going to record that. Those are what the movies are being made about. Our people as a whole, if you're going to group white people together, gave them a lot of firsts to have to overcome. We have to own that. We also have to own the fact that every man is responsible for their own actions and their own growth. So you have some growing to do, I have some growing to do, everybody in this group has some growing to do, and the only way we can do that is having honest conversations and being able to view a situation from somebody else's view. You think of a cup in the middle of the room, you're seeing one side of the cup. CEO, JD, everybody else is around that cup, looking at it from a different angle. We're only going to be able to see that cup fully when we're talking to other people and having these conversations and able to switch our viewpoint. That's all I can.
Thank you so much. I'm going to hand it to the mods. I had to step away for 5 minutes. My dog's driving me crazy. Mods, please take.
Yeah, we got some new people on stage. Steve, Doc Adams. Guy, I know you chimed in a little bit, but I don't know if you were able to, bring a point besides interjecting, taking part of a point that was made by another speaker. But if you guys want to go, feel free. You guys need some airtime, and then
stood there, I was talking, and he jumped in, and I asked him to stand down, and he continued to talk. So in order to grab control of the room, I had to move it down. I apologize for that. But I only have a few rules. When it's not speech, we shut down. And one of my policy that I apologize for moving you. The mic is yours, sir.
Okay, yeah, no, I didn't hear the. Yeah, I apologize. I didn't know that was going on. I mean, I think that it is interesting that well, sometimes it's the this and sometimes it's the that, but overall, I think that you would want in your neighborhood somebody that had a broad view of all cultures, especially a culture that you come from, versus this kind of like this is that. And that's why I was trying to qualify questions about if black culture is this twerking, the 3 or 4 bad things that you think are like.
Is he making up words in me?
Yeah, I can't hear you, sir.
Yeah, okay. It was basically saying, are those people still black if they're not engaging in this black culture, this bad black culture? That was my question I was trying to get at it.
If I could, I think this is a good point, and Keegan, if you want to respond, I think Keegan's on the phone. But yeah, the whole thing, I just think there's a disparity in terms of ambassadorship, right? Black people have to own everything. So a lot of the lectures that people give is you black people need to own it, you black people need to own it. So it's basically like if I come out of if I come out of my mom's room and I never shot up a building or twerk or, got into twerk culture, don't listen to drill music, then just because I'm black, I need to own it. So that's the silliness of how black people on the scale have to be the most self-deprecating people. We need to own everything that anybody black does. And I just think that's not how white, quote unquote, in this social construct, this BS anyway, that's not how white works. White people don't say, yo, there's a serial killer. Oh my God, what are we white people going to do about the serial killer? Okay.
I would say from age 16 to age, 31 or something. Is that?
You were like lefty, protesting, right?
Yeah, I mean, don't you have friends like me who are like white American Jews who are against Israel? Do you have a few friends like that?
Yeah.
So I was just like one of them. So anyway, I say, why don't you continue to waste all time? Now that John Kitover is here, you can continue to waste all time all day as long as you like. I'll keep making your point. Don't interrupt him. He's not going to be able to make his point. All right, everybody leave out.
It's funny you mentioned that because I used to, before I came on this app, I was used to say things about ladies or
Like,
stuff, and I was
like,
don't interrupt him. Don't interrupt him. You won't be able to make that point. You better not interrupt him. Otherwise, he won't be able to make it. So we get it. Jack, give me the green now. Give me the green now.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to you, John. Wait, John, I love you. No, please don't leave. Everyone can raise their So this is the thing, is that before I came on this app, I was kind of impartial. I was like, maybe the government is.
Why was he a scoop? Who is missing in the chapter?
There's no racial division. It's not a black. This is a segment of society. That's what it was. That's what it is. One other quick point, if I could indulge people, I know that was a little bit
sort of Democrat-run cities that are really just black cities, you know, we gotta understand, Europe went through dark ages, right? Ireland went through spaces. There are a lot of countries and civilizations and eras throughout history that were pretty much shot out and downtrodden, right? So this is a short period in the birth of my remarkable culture that we're celebrating today. So I don't want to judge the history of us by small segments of our existence, right? So in those quote-unquote black cities, those were proud black cities or brown cities or American cities at one point not that long ago. I just want to begin in the Industrial Revolution and with the transitions that happened, all of the migration, with the xenophobia of black people migrating from the South and the hate and the race crimes and all that kind of stuff when they were working in jobs in St. Louis and Philly and Detroit and Gary, Indiana and Baltimore and all of those when the South came to the North and the jobs were there. There was a pride in black history afterwards, the Harlem Renaissance and all that kind of stuff. What happened was, to some extent, as one context, not an excuse, but context, the jobs ended in those cities when all of those plants and factories died. So the children of the people who were proud black people that bought their first Cadillacs, bought their first homes, had cities belly up because thousands of jobs mysteriously just disappeared. So the sons and daughters of those proud fathers and mothers weren't able to move into the same jobs that they saw their parents occupy. And that's not yeah, go ahead.
You know, because we got too many speakers. I'll let you talk on it. But actually, I just wanted to go to King because you were talking on the music industry. That's not my lane. That's his lane. But before I go to you, King, I just want to say hello to Rolo. Good morning, Rolo. I know you're not here, but I'm going to give you today's Juneteenth in America, which is Black Independence Day from slavery. So I wanted to give you a little context. So good morning. How you doing?
Wait, hold on. Look, Juneteenth is a consolation prize. When you throw a community a holiday, you're basically saying that you don't want to deal with the real issues. But hey, we'll do this appeasement thing by creating a holiday. And I would say that if my community was oppressed in some way, I would reject the idea that the government's going to say, hey, here, we've got something for you, a holiday. Here, everyone get a day off, everyone go celebrate. This goes for every fucking holiday. And JB, you know, I don't fucking fuck with these holidays as consolation prizes. I think it's a mistake for us to say, oh my God, the government's really recognizing the injustices of the past, and we have the evidence of it because we have a holiday. I think that's ridiculous.
Thank you, Mojo. I don't disagree with what you're saying. And Columbus Day here in New York has been changed to Indigenous People Day. We don't no longer celebrate Columbus. Just saying. But the king because he's been paced away. And I know CEO said some things about music. And he was like,
yeah, man, I want to respect the language too. I know it's his space. The brother CEO is a little bit better than me with speaking. I don't like to kiss white ass or black ass. I'm more like Mojo. I actually agree with what he said. I wish it was a black man who said what Mojo just said. Thank you for a holiday where we can buy watermelon ice cream. We appreciate it. JB, white supremacy systematically created the conditions of the ghetto. I want you to hear this. White supremacy systematically created the conditions of the ghetto through slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, and the deliberate suppression of black education. For centuries, black people were denied the right to read, write, and build generational wealth, then punished for the inequality that was enforced upon them. Now those same forces blame the black community for the very conditions that they designed. I need you to think about that. Because you plant a seed and then you say, now the motherfuckers want to dance or twerk or make a rap song to try to, deal with these conditions that we didn't design. We didn't create. to twerk. Now the guy wants to rap. Now what's the problem? They say it's ghetto. Ghetto is only culture that has not been stolen. It's fucked up when Chief Keef does it about Chicago, but when Eminem, and I think he's one of the greatest MCs, when Eminem from Warren, Michigan raps about what happened to him, he should be praised. What are we doing here? Is she bad because she wants to dance? Is she dancing through poverty? And shout out to Mojo for actually standing up and saying, you know what? Fuck a holiday. Why? Because the holiday acknowledges the Black Holocaust. Thank you for freeing us. God made me free. The white man didn't free me. God made me free. But shout out to Mojo for what he said, because the holiday says, I acknowledge the Black Holocaust, but I don't want to give you what's owed to your people. I looked it up before I came here, JB. I see that the Holocaust survivors got reparations. Japanese Americans got reparations. The Native Americans got reparations. The Tuskegee men with the experience that went on, they got reparations. Why can't